As we're recording this, we're just days away from the Obama administration's attempt to transfer away control of ICANN, which is a critical component of the internet's architecture, over to this global multi-stakeholder body. So this is a massive threat to internet freedom, and it needs to be fought. If you're watching this before the end of September, make sure to call your member of Congress and ask them to stop Obama from surrendering control over the internet. And the reason is very simple. As long as the internet and these critical components of it are under U.S. jurisdiction, they're subject to the First Amendment. They can't just willy-nilly take websites off the internet because they don't like what's said on them. Once that leaves control of the United States, suddenly a whole different set of rules apply, and nobody exactly knows what happens, but there are dark totalitarian forces that want to squelch internet freedom. So this is a crucial issue and we need to take action. It's certainly not the only one. There's a whole broad range of threats to internet freedom that I want to discuss, this being one of the most important and immediate ones. And the reason that we have all these threats to internet freedom, and the reason it's so critical, is actually very simple. The internet has enabled an explosion of knowledge and information and awareness all over the world, not just in the United States. So if you look 20, 30, 40 years ago, before the advent of the internet, it was much easier to manipulate the American people and people around the world using different deception, right? You could just get a few mass media outlets, promote the narrative, and it was as simple as that. Some people might know it was untrue, but they were a very small group. Nowadays, with the internet, the establishment's narratives are being undermined on a constant basis, and the establishment is losing control of information and the narrative. And this is huge. This is wonderful news for humanity, for the American people, and for freedom. And of course, totalitarians and people who would like to erode that don't appreciate that. And so they intend to erode internet freedom in any way they can. Transferring control of ICANN to this international group is a very important step in that direction. So eventually the goal, and we've written very extensively about this in the New American, is to transfer control over these key components of the internet over to UN bodies, where communist China and other totalitarian governments that love censorship and hate freedom will have the ability to manipulate and control what people can see and read and hear on the internet. Now, as luck would have it, the internet agency that the UN wants to regulate the internet is called the International Telecommunication Union, and right now it's actually led by a communist Chinese agent. And he was asked by a reporter, so what are your views on censorship? And he said, oh, well, censorship is in the eye of the beholder, right? What you think is censorship might not be censorship to me, and so, what's the big deal? Let's just have a big happy family where Cuba and communist China and Iran and North Korea get as much say over the internet and what's allowed on the internet as the US government and as what remains of the free world. This is a very, very dangerous trend, and it needs to be resisted. There's also other attacks that are coming at the same time, and if you look at what's going on in Europe, I think you'll get a very illuminating understanding of what's happening right now to internet freedom. So the European Union has set up this EU police unit in charge of censoring what they call extremism from the internet. And if you want to get an idea of what the EU considers to be extremism, they've told you, right? They've told us on many occasions. They arrested a British politician for quoting Winston Churchill because he said that Winston Churchill had said something negative about the Islamic religion. And so a British politician was arrested for quoting one of Britain's great heroes, right? One of the big historical figures in British history. You can no longer quote him without being subject to arrest. In Sweden, you had pastors being thrown in jail for quoting from Scripture. You have the Justice Ombudsman, the Justice Ministry, investigating the Bible for hate speech and concluding that actually, yep, there is some hate speech in the Bible. It's just not practical to ban it right now. So this is where these totalitarians are going, right? They want to censor truth. They want to get rid of information that contradicts their worldview and their narrative and the policy prescriptions that they're proposing. And they want to subject us to censorship, right? They want to get rid of information and opinions that are not acceptable to the establishment. So in the United States now, just recently we had an article in the New American about this effort to demonize what they call trolls, right? And they define trolls as people who support the truth, right? And people who make comments that the establishment doesn't like. So they're saying, oh, trolls are mean and they're rude and they make the internet unfriendly, and if we could only censor the internet and get rid of internet anonymity and all these things, then everything would be great with the internet, right? And Obama actually was pushing a pilot program some years ago where they wanted to have internet IDs, right? You would have an ID to go on the internet, so we would get rid of anonymous speech. And there was a big cover story in Time magazine pushing exactly this agenda, right? This agenda that we can't have anonymous speech on the internet anymore because that's unnice, it's unfriendly, we need to get rid of that. And this is all very dangerous, right? If you go back in American history, you know that many of our founders wrote under pseudonyms in the Federalist Papers and so on. Publius, of course, was a big one. And the idea that we should get rid of anonymous speech is totally crazy, and yet this is being pushed by the highest echelons of the establishment. So we have all these threats to free speech, all these threats to internet freedom, and they're kind of culminating as I speak right now, right? They're doing everything they can to undermine this massive freedom that has been enabled by the rise of the internet. One of the key ways of doing that is getting the internet out of American hands, right? The American people paid for the development of the internet. I mean, the internet is essentially ours, and now it's being transferred over to the control of third world dictators and mega corporations that don't appreciate free speech, and so on and so forth. So these are all trends that need to be fought. Now, the news is not all bad, right? As the censors and the tyrants try to abolish the information and abolish the access to information, the technology is opening up new doors to stay one step ahead of them, right? So if you're a tech guy, if you know about computers, do what you can. And I've heard a lot of people who are very encouraged and optimistic. Every time the censors and the tyrants try to censor this or stop that, the internet stays one step ahead, right? So we need to encourage that, but we also need to take organized political action, and we need to educate ourselves to keep the internet free and open so that ideas and this vibrant marketplace of ideas can continue, and so the truth can continue to come out, right? The truth doesn't need any laws or any censorship to support it. So just let the truth rise to the top, and we can do that by preserving and protecting internet freedom. Check out the articles in the New American. We've been writing about this for many years. It's a crucial topic. Please inform yourself, please inform others, and work with your member of Congress and your state representatives and anyone else to make sure that the internet stays free and open.